right now, that's when I said, I want to start a magazine. And that magazine, some of you may know it, it's called Essence. And so I go from J.D. Blount, going to Piney Grove, two-room schoolhouse with an outhouse in the back, and a well up the road, and a pot-belly stove. How did I go from that to Wall Street? Well, I'm going to tell you how. It's because I came from Monroe. And everywhere I go, I proudly proclaim that I'm from Monroe, North Carolina, population 10,000 and Monroe gave me something very, very special. The Monroe that I grew up in, there was the white water fountain and the colored water fountain in the courthouse. We went by there yesterday. I wanted to show my daughter and my grandson where we came from and what Monroe was like. And I bet her, I said, I bet you, and we called it Uptown Monroe because we had up there and out of downtown. So I said, listen, I want you to go uptown with me. And I said, I will bet you that it hasn't changed. And she says, okay, I'll take that bet. Well, after the end of the tour, she said, I lost. But the white water fountain was refrigerated, had nice refrigerated water and so forth, and the colored water fountain was just an upside down, turned up spigot. And so I used to sneak and drink from the white water fountain. Little did I know that I could have been lynched and killed for doing that. When we went to the bus station, there was the colored waiting room and the white waiting room. So when we went to Charlotte, we had to sit in the back of the bus. We couldn't go to J.J. Newberry's and F.W. Woolworth's and sit at the counter and get anything. When in the stores, we couldn't try on clothes. We'd have to buy the clothes, hold them up, and hope that they fit when we got them home. But there was something very special about Monroe that grounded me. And please indulge me for a moment, because I got to get behind glory to that. Because you see, the Monroe that I grew up in on English Street, which is a very, very special street, because at the end of English Street was Balcom's Grocery. And this weird little taxi, the barbershop, and Hershey, and the Royal Garden. And then when you come up the street, you get two funeral homes. And you come on up the street, and Miss Garnett was the bootlegger who was across the street. Of course, next door was Aunt Minnie Cherry. And she ran the gambling games on the weekend. And the place would be packed, because she was known for a great cook. And then across the street, there was a beauty shop. And then next there was Miss Cherry. She was a teacher. Come on down, there was Donald Russian, and they were contractors. Going across the street, there was Mr. Graham, who was the principal. And then next door were the Macceys, who were just a big, explosive family. And I remember when Donald started his music group called the Rock Hole, named after the jukebox at Hershey. And so that gave me a very, very special grounding. Because all I saw was entrepreneurship. All I saw was independence. All I saw was the dignity of black people. And you don't find that anywhere else in the world. There was Mangum's Grocery on Church Avenue. We had a credit account at Mangum. When Mr. Mangum decided to take clapboards and to brick his store, Mama Carrie got clapboards and she built a triplex apartment next door in a vacant lot. And next door to that was Christine Mann. And Christine and I grew up together, and we used to play together. And I used to always like going to their house because they were a little more sophisticated. They had a beautiful Christmas tree and all that. But another thing about English Street is English Street had this nice hill. And back in our day, you get roller skates for Christmas, and you get the kind of roller skates that you put on your shoes and you had to clamp them on. And English Street had the best surface. So at Christmas time, everybody would come to English Street to skate. Not only that, but the vacant lot that was next door to the Russians was where the basketball goal was. And everybody would come, they'd come from Charlotte, all around to play basketball. So English Street gave me a real cosmopolitan experience. And in the summer, I took the family by the school yesterday and showed her the gym and everything. And then in the summertime, they would close the gym. And we would sneak in and play basketball. And the police would come and run us out there, the elderly. And so, and I noticed something else, and I hope that the two good men, and I want to thank you all for putting forth this initiative, because you all understand so critically that most of history is his story. You all are making sure that we tell our story. Our significance for us. And here's an example of doing that, and I'm so just humbled and glad that you all are allowing me to be a part of that. Now, I grew up in the Williams household. See, I have the great advantage of having three real families. The Blount family, and through an article in Jet magazine, because I was adopted at birth, I was able to find my birth family, who are the Morrises from South Hill, Virginia. And here's something significant, because with all of the advocacy that I've had in my life, people think that I hate white people. Well, I don't hate white people. I'll tell you, give you a good example. When my grandfather acquired our family farm that my father and his 6 siblings grew up on, blacks couldn't own land in South Hill. There was a white family up the road that bought the land and held the deed until the laws changed and it was turned over to our family, and my father and his 6 siblings were able to matriculate at Virginia State and some to graduate school from the proceeds of that farm. And so I also found this out. The Morris family, you all have heard of Samuel B. Morris, who invented the telegraph and the Morse code? A great-grandfather. On the Blount side, William Blount was the Secretary of State, Governor of Virginia, and one of the signers of the Constitution. But nothing that I've ever done or been associated with has been more important to me than being a part of the Williams family.
Wow.
And you see, one of the names that I was called was Johnny Boy. The reason I was called Johnny Boy is because Robert's father was named John Williams. And I was a sickly child, so he used to come and sit with me while Mama Carol would go to school. And then it came a point where she would just kind of leave me there. And I would stay there for weeks at a time, and they had 2 young daughters, Everett and Jessica, who used to run home, and they said my feet never touched the ground. I mean, they were just overwhelmingly loved by them. And I was always following around Rob's father, John, so they called me Johnny Boy. So I became an integral part of that family. And here's what I've learned about family. It doesn't end, it's not limited by blood. It's got to do with the familial relationship. It's about the love. It's about the care. It's about the concern. And I was welcomed and honored to be welcomed into the Williams family. And Robert Williams became the pantheon of that family. Here's what he did. Robert embodied something that was very, very special. Robert was a brilliant man. I mean, all of his international travels and all of the things that he did attest to that. Robert could have been and done anything that he wanted to do. And more than anything else here today, the unscripted part of this message is that this is also a tribute to Robert Williams, because he was our leader. All of the people that I have known throughout history, there's nobody that I have ever read about or heard about that was more courageous, that was more fearless, that had more of an indomitable spirit than Robert Williams. Let me tell you something. We marched around the courthouse. He organized this, of course, for our rights. We wanted to integrate the 5 and 10 cent store, and we wanted to drink at the white water fountain, and we wanted to skate the Holiday Inn, and so forth. And basically, we became a spectacle. And the white folks would come and they would cheer us, and they'd throw rocks at us, and this and that. And finally, Robert said, well, one of the main glaring issues, as Richard said, we would go to swimming out in swimming holes, and with water bottles in them. And there were many of us who drowned in those water holes. And Robert said, wait a minute. This is built with federal funds. Wait a minute. We pay taxes. We should be able to swim in the municipal pool too. So we started coming down here to the pool and we started marching around. And we would go stand in for entrance and they wouldn't admit it. So Robert said, listen, this isn't getting us anywhere. So we haven't sit in, we're gonna have a wave in. We coming in the pool. So the Sunday that we were supposed to come in the pool, and as I said, I was like I remember the family, so Robert had me, Richard, and Jay Van in the car with him. Because I grew up with his sons, Bobby and John. And we're coming down 601, and we had a motorcade of about 30 cars. And we were the lead car. The police were escorting us. All of a sudden, as we come up to the hill at Hilltop, and Hilltop, not the Hilltop you see today. Hilltop was a restaurant that had, you know, the trays that they put in the window, and they would come out and give you curb service. Of course, we couldn't get none of the curb service. That was the Hilltop. That was the only thing that was there. When we got to the Hilltop and came up over that hill, there were thousands of angry white people yelling and screaming at us. And all of a sudden the crowd opened and an old beat up car came out and it hit us. And Robert being, an ex-Marine, his reflexes were great, so he stopped on the brakes, swerved, so instead of the direct hit, it glanced off, but it disabled the wheel. And all of a sudden, this fool that had driven the car comes out, beating on his chest, come out of the car! I'll show you what a man is! And Robert, said, Johnny boy, hand me that rifle.
I ain't got time to play with you.
Put one in the chamber and hand it to him. He didn't know that I had put one in the chamber. Now, imagine being surrounded by thousands of white people saying, kill the niggas, kill the niggas. And they had a big boa constrictor snake and cut the 30-head rope. And so all of a sudden, Robert kicks over the door and jumps out. And he cocked the rifle, and this big long bullet goes up in the air. And again, he hits down on the pavement. It sounded like a gun. And all of a sudden, and he told us, he said, okay, troops, make ready. We all pulled out our guns. and the crowd that was condensing on us, all of a sudden they jumped back, the niggas got guns! The niggas got guns! So, talk about courage. Robert put his rifle on the ground and he said, we can't kill you all, but I want to know who's going to be the first. And so he said, shoot the first one to step forward. Nobody stepped forward. They threw the snake and ran, and the snake, I guess it was the snake supposed to come in the car and, root us out. And the snake is crawling over the top of the car. And it comes down, I'm in the back, my window's down. The snake comes down and I cock up to shoot the snake. And Rob said, don't waste no bullet on him. so Robert used to tell this story at the family reunion. So all of a sudden, the police reappears out of nowhere. And they come, all right, we'll take over here. Robert, you all give us your weapons, and we'll get you out of here. Robert said, what? I'm not giving you our weapons. You can't control this mob. We're not surrendering to no mob. And one of the police officers that was with him went around on our side, and he was going to draw his gun and shoot Robert in the back, I guess. J. Van Covington is another one of the baddest Oscar-Rated. J. Van cocked his 45 and said, look, you son of a bitch, if you pull out that gun, I'll blow your goddamn head. So all of a sudden, then a city commissioner or somebody shows up, and he's talking to Robert and says, listen, okay, we'll handle this, we'll get you out of here. So Robert said, cover me. And he went down, and he had to pull the fender back off the tire, which was disabled. And we were wobbling now on down the street behind the police. And they said, we're going to escort you home. Robert said, we're not going home. We said we were coming in the pool, we getting in. so we get down to the bottom of the hill, and we get out the car to go jump in the pool. They closed the pool that day. Never to be opened again.
Tell the
when
truth.
I came here about a decade ago, I wanted to come down and see it, just to, just to memorialize the moment of the event. And I couldn't find the pool. So I went to the clubhouse and I asked about it, and they said, well, we filled that in some time ago. And I said, well, why? I said, do you know what happened here? They said, well, we don't really want to talk about that. We want to forget about that. And I said, you can't forget about that. I said, because that changed the calculus of the civil rights movement in Monroe. And to the credit of Monroe, one of the things that I learned from Robert was collaboration. Robert had, in some cases, as many white friends as he had. And one of the lessons that I learned from Robert was you have to embrace people where they are. It really is about what's in their heart. That tells you who people are. Right. And that I've got as many white brothers in my life as I have black brothers. And that came from Robert. The other thing that came from Robert was to be bold. And to step forward. And so when I stepped forward and said, I'm going to start a magazine for black women, you understand, I did so without any reservation because that impetus came from my relationship with Robert.
Say that.
One of the greatest men ever to live. And let me tell you something. You all may remember that I was a part of the co-eulogizing Robert along with Rosa Parks at his memorial here. And one of the stories that I told was, at that time, the United States had no relationship with China. Today, who is the most major trading partner with the United States? China. Almost everything you buy is made in China. But at that time, there was no relationship. Guess what? When Nixon and Kissinger went over to China to meet Zhou Enlai, who was like the Secretary of State, and Mao Zedong, to open trade relations, Zhou Enlai said to Nixon and Kissinger, he said, gentlemen, we're so glad to have you here. And we are hopeful to engage in positive relations and have fruitful discussions. But before we can move forward, we must resolve the matter of Robert Williams.
That's right.
And Nixon turned to Kissinger, who the hell is Robert Williams? Robert Williams, and I was there that night when Robert saved the lives of the stakeholders in that house and let them go. And he let them go. And within 30 minutes, the phone rang, and I was right there. And it was the chief of police saying, Robert, in 30 minutes you'll be here in the courthouse because kidnapping is a capital offense in North Carolina. And all of a sudden I looked around and Robert and Mabel and Bobby and Johnny were there. And when they turned up, they were in Cuba. And then they left Cuba and they went to China. And when Robert came back after these bogus kidnapping charges were finally defeated, guess what? The United States embraced Robert because he had lived in China for almost a decade. And he became the one that became the bridge between the United States and China. So I want to thank you.
Tell the truth. Thank you.
To be a part of this great experience. If you all haven't seen the book Negroes with Guns,
Get it.
That's Robert's first account. In a book that is the biography of my life called Horatio Alger's Alive and Well and Living in America, I recounted that in 1971. And our cousin Connie Williams has done the most comprehensive story on Robert I've ever seen in this book, Audacity. And I think you all should get into reading. And I just proposed this. I went to the pool yesterday in Newtown, and the most amazing thing, you had black people swimming in the pool and all the lifeguards were white. It really comes full circle. So again, I'd like to put on the hearts of a few good men that you all consider. I noticed that they didn't have a name for the pool. I think it should become the Robert Williams Memorial. from New Jersey, came to